Hello, this is Caitlin Gorman, and this is part 3 to my presentation, the final part on my final project for the best ways to digitalize formative assessments in the classroom. So part 3 is going to be all about the applications of using these tools and how to analyze data using these tools to help your department grow and to compare data between teachers. So I'm going to start with Plickers. So when you're using Plickers, it's a quick assessment tool for just a quick question in the classroom. So here's an example of one that I've used, a warm-up on polynomials, finding the LCM. So if I actually play now, when we're doing it, you can show the graph. So the graph shows what students are answering. You might want to do that after everyone is done. Is show the graph, and then you can have a discussion on why do we think that someone picked A? Well, maybe they just read it wrong and it was supposed to be a -2 instead of a -5. Or why did they pick C? Well, they picked the +2 instead of the -2, so they factored it incorrectly or chose the wrong one or just rewrote it incorrectly. So that's something that you can have a discussion on, and then you can reveal the answer. And then you can also go to the student list. So usually you're not going to display it, but it does show when they answer, and if you go to your student reports, you can actually see what students answer. So if you go to show student scores or go to set report, it'll show you the question. You can click on the question and you can see who answered what, but this is mostly just for you, not for the students. And then you could also use this to compare with other classes. Why are they getting it and why are we not, or vice versa, and what should we do differently? So it can also help grow as an educator. Now the next one I'd like to show you is the Nearpod, and how they show the reports. So just like you go to My Library, it's at the top, you go to reports and you can click which PowerPoint. So I've done one with my math department to show them how to use Nearpod before. So I'm going to show you how they answered. You can see all the students that signed up. You can see their names, and then you can see how they did on the quiz, how they did on the draw. The ones that are blank are ones that I did not incorporate in my presentation. And then you can also see who's participating, and that could be how you give students a grade, is are they participating or are they not? You can also go to each individual assignment. So if you did your quiz, you could see what they answered and if they answered or not. You can do I didn't use the poll, so I did use the draw it, so I can see what students drew. Obviously it was just a test, so some people are just scribbling, but with the draw it, you can actually see their work, which is nice, and see what they actually did. And you can also compare answers from different students. So those were the only ones that I actually used. I also did a poll. Do you think you would use Nearpod in your classroom? And you can see how they answered. Yes, every once in a while. It is quite a bit of work. So, it is something that you probably need more professional development on in order to use more often. You can share with someone. I don't know why you would share student data. Or you could download the data. But the sharing would be good if you did have a co-teacher that wanted to see the report as well. So that's it for Nearpod and seeing the actual reports. The next one would be Socrative. So on Socrative, you can launch your quiz, here are your quizzes, and if you click reports, you can click on the assessment that you want the report for. So if you click on that assessment, you can get the report, you can get the whole class or individual students, what their report was, and then that way you could email out the report to each student, or you could just view the chart. And this is not the one I wanted to show you, because I did want to show you one that we've done before. So from the past, I've used, let's see, we'll look at the partner proofs practice. If I go to view chart, you can hide the names. So I hid the names from you guys, but then you could see their answers. So if you show answers, you can show what they picked. You can see who picked what and who's really not understanding the material. So this is where you would get that report. You can get more with the reports, but that's how you would get the results. You can get the reports again. You can download it and get it as a PDF. Okay, or an Excel spreadsheet. So that's it for the reports on Socrative. The next one would be Classkick. So on Classkick, like I talked about before, you can see student work as they go. You can also assign points to questions. So that would be when you created the assignment, you can add points. And then you can go to students and see what they did, what they need help on, if they raised their hand. But then you can also grade it. So you can say, oh, they got number 1 right, so they got 4 points. They still need to finish number 2. And then they can see their grades. You can see their grades as you assign them grades. Or you don't even have to use the grade feature. You could just use this to view student work and utilize that work to actually go through a discussion in class or just adjust your teaching. And the last one I would like to go through is the student data for Delta Math. So right here at the top is where it says student data. You can view assignments, you can go through the problem logs. That would be good for while you're doing it in class. You can see who's working on what and what time they were working on it and who's submitting things. You can also just view the assignments, and if you click on a student, you can view what they did on an assignment, and it does give you an item analysis, which is nice. It tells you how long they spent on each problem, so you can kind of get an idea. Definitely wasn't doing anything in that time, or if they just kind of submitted and solved it in 6 seconds. You can see what they were actually spending their time on. Maybe they skipped a problem, and you can kind of infer what happened there. But as you can see, I required that they completed and got 5 of them correct from each section. So when they do get a problem wrong, it'll assign them more until they get those 5 correct. So you can actually also go to that problem and see what they typed in. So this one, this person put in -1/2 and it should have been 2. So that shows me they probably had it flipped, and then they probably just kept the negative instead. So you can see what they answered to actually see maybe what they made a mistake on. So here's another incorrect one, and you can see that maybe they just forgot to simplify, okay, and that they need practice with simplifying. So that's really nice to see, is how many they're missing and how long it's taking them to complete. And you can change the requirements on this, but this is how you would get a student summary. And you can select the assignment, obviously, but this is kind of like a grade book. It shows you how they're doing, and you can use it for a review. You could do it for homework, but I've been doing both, so it really just depends what you want to add to these assignments. But you can also download the assignment summary, and you can also change the order on the page, which isn't really something you need to do unless you need to change the order. Refresh the data as you get new data in, or the download to Excel. You can select what to download if you want the grade or what they were to complete. You can do both, and then when you download it, it'll come up with an Excel spreadsheet, and that will give you their grades and their completion in a nice viewable form. Not as nice as just looking at it online, So it's really up to you how you want to get that data. But with all of these, it's best to get this data because students really need that repetition, and then you can also adjust your instruction from the data. So that's it on analyzing the data and the applications for these formative assessments. Thank you.